Welcome to the Safari Yangu Podcast, where we share our stories unapologetically, experiences that shaped us and experiences that continue to shape us. On today's episode, I would like to focus on investing in ourselves, personal development and stuff like that, and especially for students who are either in college or at the uni. What does personal development look like, and what does financial gain look like for you as a student? I'll give you an honest introduction. So while I was at the uni, which was between when I'm old yes, it was between 2012 and I graduated in 2016. While I was at the uni in second year of my uni, I decided to take up a skill. So I learned beadworking. This was out of curiosity. I had seen this lady when I was still in high school in my last year doing beadwork from paper. Like, she was recycling magazine papers to make beads. So I was super curious on how to do it. I think 2 years later now, in 2013 now, when I was in second year, yeah? Yes, something like that. I decided to 2013, 2014 there. I decided to actually try this out. And I remember my boyfriend then from the uni, he had done a campaign and alikuwa na a lot of posters in his room. So I actually decided to take his posters and recycle them. I Googled how to actually recycle paper to do beadwork. And the first link I come across was exactly what I needed. So that night I didn't even sleep. I was there. Of course, there was scissors in the house. There was all these, whatever, including glue, supplies including glue. So I take these and I start making beads. And then the next morning, I'm thinking, the way I had seen people making these beads was that they would include now the Masai sort of small beads with those big beads from the recycled paper. So the next day I go to town and we are walking around and I find some Hindi shop and he was selling the beads like one strand at 20 bob. I felt like it was expensive. A week later we are walking in town and I find this shop. I had not even seen what the shop was about. It's those shops that are in the mall. So shout out to, what's her name? Lynette. So I see just outside her shop, I see the beads I was working with, like the paper bead and all that. I'm like, oh my God, here they are. Let's go there and see if we can find something. Then we go to the shop and I am looking inside the shop, and because it was like you couldn't get into the shop, you just stand outside and then she serves you. So I see her, she was doing beadwork. Literally, there was all these manner of African beads. It felt like I was in like a small karaoke, and she was actually making those. So I stand by her shop, and I think we spent like maybe almost an hour there. I was just watching her and deciding what I will buy. So I was like, give me this, give me that, give me that. And that day I bought beads worth 416 shillings. I remember vividly. And when we left her shop, she had this special pliers she was using. It's called a round nose pliers, and I didn't know where to get it. And then I was afraid to ask. I didn't want her to think that I actually don't know how to do beadwork, which now when I think about it right now was sort of weird and silly. So later I walk in town the same day again. We're walking in town, we try to look for these particular pliers in hardwares and we don't get the correct one. So when I come to her shop like 2 weeks later, I'm like, oh, by the way, do you have that pliers you were using? She was like, oh, you should have asked. I actually also sell them at around I think it was 200 by then. So I buy, and that is how my beadworking journey started. So I would make beads in my house, and initially I started wearing them, and there's some people who will be like excited. They're like, oh my God, you look so nice, where did you buy that? I remember I would be like, oh, I made it. So some people started buying from me, and then I started coming with them to class. I would carry this like very big handbag, come with it to class, and some people were excited to buy. Others would be like, we don't need this, we can't wear handmade stuff and shit like that. So I started feeling and also there was the anxiety when I started of feeling a certain way, as if, I'm not supposed to be doing this, kazi ya mikono or whatever, you get, especially because of the way people perceive you. Because now I became a hawker, I'm selling them to school. I started now feeling like, or thinking, what do people perceive me like, watasema nini, vitu kama hizo. And at some point I almost let that get into my head. But the moment I started making money and I would go to the people's hostels, like my school had so many hostels, I would go to a hostel, and unapata hostel was like one floor juu, so there's a ground floor and the upstairs. And then there was days I could go ground floor, upstairs, natoka na dhao mbili in less than an hour, or in an hour. I'll be like, damn. So someone can actually make money from this. So, and that is how my side hustle while still in campus started. And boy, did I make money. I made money up to an extent. I remember some lecturer actually gave me an opportunity to go for an exhibition in Mombasa to showcase what I was making. I made money. The school gave me the opportunity again to even make the school logo using beads. I did that, and anyway, sorry to say that the school never paid me. Even after doing that, I did the school logo on beads, and I also did I also did another logo on a mat, like those floor mats, but now mrefu kabisa, that it accommodated the school logo and the school name. University of Eldoret, you did me bad. They actually literally never paid me. I followed that money. I followed it until when I left school. I was like, you know what, pesa unapoteleanga mali kwingi. So that's how I stopped looking for that money or following up with it. So guys, that was my journey in beadworking, which later now became part of the business that I opened later, and I was teaching people beadworking again. So you are at the uni, you're a student. Do you realize that, especially here in Kenya, just how much time you have to kill? The reason why our school system is different and why we have too much time, if you look at the curriculum abroad, or people in places like America, Canada, blah, blah, they have the opportunity to actually do part-time jobs. They are very readily available. Somebody would be a waiter somewhere or doing all manner of jobs. But in Kenya, those jobs are very rare to get. But now what you have in your hand as a student is your time. Because mara umeenda, class imebounce. I don't know what has happened. There is no class. Like right now, there's a strike that has been ongoing and all these manner of things. So there's so much you can do with that time. You just need to plan properly as a student. It worked for me, and I believe it can work for you. And there's so many lessons I learned from this particular venture. So as a student, what can you do? Before I even started doing beadwork, I was doing online writing for some guy called Mark, if I'm not wrong. I wrote for Mark for a while, but then back in 2012, data was super expensive. Ulikuwa na buy data ya sijui Safaricom. By the time you're doing some online research so that you could put together like an article or something like that, because I was doing article writing, by the time he's paying you, you do the math and it doesn't add up. So that's how I stopped writing for Mark. But this idea of writing, also I stayed with it for such a long time. And even at some point, I did freelance writing as part of my career when I was just beginning. And it also took off, and I employed so many people, or a couple of people, for a while actually, for years actually. So what am I trying to say? As a student, you have so much time on your hands. You can learn a skill. Like right now, if you look at the digital space, there's so many opportunities, from managing social media accounts. People want editing services. People want photography or even editing photos, such kind of services. You are at school, you have the time, even if you need to take a loan and learn photography and buy maybe a camera and become the photographer in your school. So you can do stuff like photography. You can manage people's social media. You just need to know how to do it. You can manage people's brands. Like you see the way there is a lot of influencers out here. Maybe they don't even have time. You could be the one who manages their schedule, manages when they post their videos and stuff like that. You could be online. You are writing articles. You are writing reviews. You could be even a content creator. You are documenting your life at school as a student, the challenges that come with being a student and stuff like that, and you end up making money. How many people in Kenya are using YouTube as an income stream? Like if you're and people like these types of stories, human-centered. Like if you're documenting your personal experiences at school, class may bounce, I don't know what, oh, I don't know, you have missing marks, you've been following up with the lecturer and it never comes through, and all the shenanigans that happen at the uni. You could literally push that as your content, and it could be you don't even need too much of equipment. You just need your phone and maybe somebody to help you around, or even do that, and then you end up learning editing, and then you end up learning another skill, then you end up learning marketing. So there's so many things you could do. And I remember when I was at school, there's this particular lady, I think she used to come to Nairobi to go to Gikomba, and then she would buy, what are they called, she would buy second-hand shoes, mtumba shoes. I'll go and buy mtumba, then she'll come to school with those, especially boots, because women at that point, like, we loved boots and all stuff like that. So she would come with them, and then we would buy from her. She would just put up a small margin, markup, or whatever they call it, and sell it to us, and we would buy. So she made money by just being a thrifter. And even right now, thrifting has become such a big deal that a lot of people have even ventured into it. You could be your source of you could be the source for your school, wherever the school you are in. You could be the one who sells this stuff for people. And even when it comes to stuff like beadworking, you don't even need to learn how to do beadwork. Oh, have you been to Karioko? You can go to Karioko, unabuy hizo stuff huko hivyo, and then you go to school, do some small markup, and then you sell to people. And trust you me, uta make a lot of money. My experience doing business or running this side hustle while at school, it taught me financial management. I started learning that, hii ni pesa ya stock, hii ni pesa ya nini, this is profit, this is how I can pay myself. Although at some point I wasn't necessarily paying myself. I'll talk about that in another video. But it did help me with that. And then it also taught me time management. What I used to do, I would go during the day. I'm in class. I never used to miss classes, not unless I'm sick. And then at night I'm making the beadwork. I'm doing beadwork. Sometimes, depending on the orders, I could even fulfill orders up to 3 a.m. in the morning. And then around after classes, maybe between 4-ish to 6, because I knew people would be back in their hostels doing their hustles or whatever they're doing, and preparing maybe to go to sleep or just catching up. That's when I'll go knocking on people's doors. I'll knock, and then sell to them. And I also learned how to be shameless. If you want to do business, you have to learn to be shameless. You can feel ashamed at, I don't know what people will say about me. I saw somewhere a while back, somebody talked about the cost of entry in the context of content creation is you being shameless or embarrassment. So yes, even with business, and especially in such a space, you have to be very shameless. Otherwise, oh my God, what will people say about me? You won't do that business. And then it helped me with my networking. Like, the more I spoke to people, the more I became confident, and then the more I learned more about people, and then I would learn how to approach people, and I would learn how to take also disappointment, because sometimes you'll talk to people and those will be disappointing. Like, I remember sometimes I would go to people's rooms, and wengine wanachukua merchandise, they look at it, wanaitoanisha, and then they don't buy. So I learned how to network with people, and I remember I had a list of regular customers. Ile design yenye, if I made some products, they'll probably be the first one to see. So I'll probably text them and I'll send them pictures, and they'll be the first one to see, and that's how they will also end up purchasing from me. So yeah, it taught me networking skills. And then, as I said, the confidence to speak to people. You go to their rooms, there are people who are kind of intimidating. They just sat there on their beds, and then they're looking at you like this, and you're like, oh. So I learned how to continue upping my confidence, to talk to people and to convince them that, you know what, this stuff is good enough and you should actually buy it. So if you're a student, there's so many lessons. There's so many lessons you can learn from just trying something while at school. And for some of you, trust me, it might actually end up being the thing that you end up doing while you're out of the uni or college, because you become passionate about it, and then it's a business, it has taken off. Because I kind of feel like university, college, tertiary education is just supposed to open up our minds so that we can take up space and do more. It's not just about get employed. University is supposed to open up your mind so that you can think critically and think outside the box. And as I said, network over there, learn, and there's so much you can do, especially online. Oh my God. And even offline. I remember there were these friends, before we even finish, there was these friends of ours who started a hotel. Oh my God. The hotel had so many customers. Every evening people were there like this. Kulikuwa kuna jaa. And they ended up employing a lot of people over there. It's like that was the joint where even couples around the school would go. I think it was called Fish Benders. Yeah. So these people opened up a joint, and that's where people used to go, and it became like a household name around school. People, that's where people, they're like, oh, where do I meet you? Meet me here, meet me there, stuff like that. So, and I even remember, even for myself, even if this particular business failed, me and Lizzie and myself started another business. We were selling chips. We were selling fries to students and coffee and I think fruits. And it did, I think we ran that business for a couple of months, and then there was a strike at school. And that's how the business went down, because our target customers were students. But you get, my point is, sometimes you might also fail, but it's also in that failing that you learn a lesson and you move forward and you start another business that might actually be successful. So yeah, those are some of the lessons I learned by putting myself out there. So you're a student right now, you're at school, you have your computer. Okay, learn a skill. That skill might also be the thing that sets you apart by the time you're starting to look for work. Learn a skill, implement it. Learn videography, learn photography, learn digital skills, learn how to edit. Oh my God, learn how to market online, learn how to be the best TikToker, learn how to be a content creator. Implement those skills and just see what happens, because you never know. Until next time, I'm your host, Miss Kimaru. Thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing to my channel. And yes, I hope you found this particular episode insightful. Bye.